to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optivent's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende na nyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
On the first day of hearing of the presidential election petition, where Raila Odinga's team of lawyers has told the court that no presidential candidate met the constitutional threshold of 50+1 to be declared winner in the first round. James Aungo, while presenting evidence to the court, says there is a contradiction in figures declared by the electoral body and that the final tally is therefore misleading. Our reporter Henry Tende has the details.
We have taken the appearances. We will straight away go to the petition.
When the floor was opened for the petitioners to argue out their case, a team of lawyers representing Azimio leader Raila Odinga, led by senior counsel James Aungo, took to the occasion armed with what they believe is sufficient evidence to annul the results of the August 9th presidential elections as declared by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati. In part of the evidence, senior counsel James Aungo maintains no single candidate garnered 50+1% of the total votes cast to win the elections in first round, as is stipulated in the elections laws under the new constitution.
Unlike many elections, this particular election, there was deceit, there was manipulation, and all this was premeditated.
Aungo told the court the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, through the chair Wafula Chebukati, made contradictory declaration of voter turnout figures and percentages at different intervals of voting, and that the final tally, declared on 15th of this month, did not agree with the previous figures.
We are going to demonstrate that the number of voters who took part in the elections and the number of votes cast in the election is indeterminate and is a moving target. It keeps on shifting.
Additionally, the senior counsel has established there was a deliberate and systematic reduction of votes cast in favor of Raila Odinga, and the same added to President-elect William Ruto in a case he says defeats democracy and the true will of the people of Kenya.
There was a systematic deduction of the votes cast for the first petitioner, and the same number of votes that were deducted from the petitioner were added to the votes of the second respondent.
Raila Odinga, through Aungo, pleads that IEBC failed to conduct a free, fair, transparent and verifiable election, and that his rights to a credible electoral exercise were violated.
You have a commission that is divided right in the middle. That speaks to a dysfunctional constitutional body that is not capable, that is dysfunctional and cannot be able to preside over an election.
On this ground of evidence, Raila Odinga, once the highest court in the land, finds that
you nullify the elections on the basis of the fact that the second respondent did not attain more than 50%+1 of the votes cast in the election.
Henry Tende, Lookup TV.
Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua, through lawyer Jude Soweto, argued that the Form 34A that was published on the IEBC portal was different from those that were issued to Odinga's agents.
Sorry.
Day one of the presidential petition hearing at the Supreme Court kicked off on Wednesday morning.
Action 2020. The Forms 34A received by the petitioner's agents vis-a-vis the Forms 34A uploaded in the IBC portal and those brought to the tallying center are different. The sampled forms were from Bomet, Kiambu, and Kakamega counties.
Odinga's advocate Jude stated that some of Raila Odinga's votes, especially in Bomet County, were deducted and added to Ruto's votes. Jude adding that William Ruto got many votes than the ones indicated on the original IEBC list.
It is in the forms, or the sample of forms, the 41 sample of forms exhibited by Celestine Nyango, that votes have been reduced from the first petitioner and added to the first respondent.
The issue of postponement of the election in Kakamega and Mombasa County, as well as other places, was served hot in the hearing, with the petitioner stating that the postponements were targeted at Raila Odinga's stronghold.
The elections, first of all, were cancelled. That is the consistent theme with all the counties or constituencies where the elections were cancelled. Therefore, as the election started, the first petitioner did not start equally with the first respondent.
Advocate Jude stated that the move affected the number of voter turnout by 4% in those areas. Odinga told the court that the election began late in those areas due to the failure of the King's Kit. Jude stated that some counties such as Kirinyaga, many voters voted for the president only and did not vote for any other position. Shadrach Kareria, Lookup TV.
The constitution of the commission and the public division during the presidential election announcement became a subject of debate in the corridors of justice as the lead lawyers for Raila Odinga and Martha Karua stood up to argue their case. Senior counsel Paul Mwangi pointed out that the chair of the commission acted as an election supervisor contrary to the constitution when he went ahead to declare William Ruto as president-elect without the support of other commissioners.
The IEBC division has become a subject of debate on who is telling the truth in regards to the presidential election, a commission that is divided right in the middle following the disassociation of 4 commissioners led by the Vice Chair Juliana Cherera from the election results became a point of argument at the Apex Court when Senior Counsel Paul Mwangi rose to argue his case on behalf of Martha Karua and Raila Odinga.
Both courts were very categorical as to the fact that the constitutional mandate of a commission is borne by the commissioners. And in that case where a commission had attempted to reach a decision without commissioners, the court annulled that decision and said that that decision had to be made by commissioners.
In his submission, Mwangi said the requirement to declare the presidential election results does not give the IEBC chair veto power to tally, verify or even reach a decision as to what he is to declare, accusing Chebukati of having acted as a supervisor of elections and making unilateral decisions.
And our submission is that the requirement to declare does not give the chairman any power to tally, to verify, or even to reach a decision as to what he is going to declare.
According to Mwangi, Chebukati committed an illegality by declaring the presidential results without the support of a majority of commissioners, hence making it unconstitutional.
And in respect of the powers of a chairperson, again, the minor KI case all the way from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and to this court have made it clear that the chairperson is not the commission and that he has to act with the rest of the commission for him to deliver a proper constitutional decision. So that collegiate nature of the decision making in a commission is captured very well in Article 138(3)(c). In Section 39(1)(c) of the Elections Act, which make it very clear that it is for the commission to tally and verify the results.
On the issue of equality and who has the final say, Mwangi submitted that all commissioners are equal and that the chair cannot treat any member as a subordinate. Mwangi further highlighted the question on who to believe in the two factions of the commission. Raising question on the conduct of the chair, Mwangi pointed out that Chebukati's relation with other commissioners is wanting and tainted all the way from 2017.
That he bungled up the 2017 elections. We've captured in a petition that he has had 4 other commissioners resign on him previously. There's unilaterally printed ballots. He's unilaterally made decisions about use of registers. And in our both affidavits and petition, we have made a list of all the misconduct that he himself has executed. And
Paul Mwangi called Ruto's pronunciation as president-elect an illegitimate transfer of power and asked the court not to grant it. Brian Amuai, Lookup TV, Nairobi.
Philip Murgor has cited major technological failure in the IEBC system that led to the fraudulent adoption of the election results that declared William Samoei Ruto as president-elect, adding that unauthorized persons accessed the system. Ian Keitanya reports.
While citing Section 39 and 44 of the Elections Act, declared failure in the technology used by the Independent and Electoral Commission, suggesting that the system was accessed by individuals not gazetted by the Commission, including nationals from abroad, and therefore the results declared by Wafula Chebukati did not represent the true will of the people.
Our further submission in this regard is that the technology was so inherently corrupted, manipulated, and tainted that the results declared by Mr. Chebukati, the third respondent, cannot be in an objective case said to be representative of the true will of the Kenyan people.
Murgor accused Dickson Kwanusu, the personal assistant to IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, as one of the unauthorized officials who had access to the elections body system, going through more than 1,700 Form 34As, while Abdi Jair, also without authorization, went through 659 Form 34As.
Indeed, you will find, when you study the system, that Dickson Kwanusu performed a purported verification process of 34As 1,743 times. The same scrutiny revealed that at page 28, one Abdi Dahir, who was not gazetted and who is belatedly granted access and privileges to the system, purportedly verified 659 Form 34As.
Murgor in his submission alleged that some of the Form 34As and Bs had also been downloaded from the system, altered and replaced with different figures before being uploaded again into the system, wanting explanation from the commission as to why the forms were downloaded with no dire need to do so, adding that there was sufficient evidence to prove the backtallying of the Form 34A and Bs, while the commission used the contents of Form 34C to create figures for Form 34A and B, contrary to how it should be.
Page 15 shows that there was evidence of, this is important, there's evidence of downloading and conversion of the forms from the system and thereafter uploading them with new information.
Citing the John Githongo and George Njoroge affidavits, Murgor alleged that close to 50 people had assembled in Karen and were intercepting results from different constituencies before being uploaded into the IEBC system. He further alleged that Form 34Cs were ready on the 12th of August, 2 days before the declaration of the presidential election results, casting doubts as to why there was various Form 34Cs generated, as only one copy was to be generated.
Page 16 and 21 shows a continuous generation and regeneration of 35C, yet 35C was 34C, yet 34C was supposed to be generated only once.
Murgor added that the election of William Ruto had been decided even before the counting of votes was complete, and the results announced at the Bomas of Kenya were manipulated.
My hypothesis from where I stand is, and I'll state at the very end, clearly a result for the for the first respondent, that is Mr. Ruto, was being arrived at well before the tally was in.
In Kitani, Lookup TV.
You're watching the news on Lookup TV. We're going to a break and come back with more. Rose Naroji, who is a fifth advocate representing Raila Odinga and Martha Karua in the case challenging Ruto's win, has questioned the conduct and integrity of IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati, accusing him of running a one-man show in the commission, saying Chebukati is not fit to hold office. John Mkora reports.
I addressed the court on issues 8 and 9.
In a high-voltage presentation before the 7 lordships of the Supreme Court, Senior Counsel Feroz Noriji highlighted Article 136 to 138 of the Constitution, underscoring the process of channeling votes from tallying, verification and declaration of the results.
3 is, in a presidential election, paragraph C, after counting the votes in the polling stations, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall tally and verify the count and declare the result.
Noriji, while filing his submission at the Supreme Court, has said that IBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati broke the law and his sworn affidavit in his capacity as a presidential returning officer.
Took it into what was happening from the 9th of August right up to the 15th of August. And this was breaking every single national value set out in Article 10.
Noriji has accused Chebukati of running the whole process and making IBC a one-man show, saying Chebukati excluded the other commissioners in the operations of the elections, hence getting an avenue for malpractice and rigging.
With no check, and if such a person were an auctioneer, then he had got into his hands. If you want to be a successful auctioneer, you must have something to auction.
Noriji saying the crucial Form 34C needs to be second-checked by the other commissioners, but Chebukati never gave them the chance, giving an instance of the bungled 2017 general elections and the abrupt postponement of the Kakamega and Mombasa gubernatorial elections.
There is a second key check. From the 34As to the 34Bs, there is generated 34C. And 34C is so key that it needs a second check.
In his submission, Noriji has said Chebukati has no integrity, telling the court that he is not fit to hold an important office like that of the IBC chairperson.
Cannot have the self-discredited person who is giving false affidavits and doing all these things to be the chairperson of the IBC or anything at all.
Edin John Mokora, Lookup TV.
Zerabanu Jan Mohammed presenting the Kenyan citizens Wanjiku before the Supreme Court, donating 7 minutes to the court. And Mohammed addressed 3 key prayers. She asked the court to declare Regulation 87 unconstitutional. She also asked for the nullification of the elections. And lastly, IBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati to be prohibited from conducting any elections.
In view of that, it's my humble submission.
In her submission before the 7 judges, Jan Mohammed argued every Kenyan who exercised their constitutional right on the 9th of August was hopeful for free and fair elections.
You have donated to us 7 minutes.
However, the distancing and dissenting of the 4 IEBC commissioners threatened the people's rights. She prayed to the court to declare the results null and void.
That there should be a nullification of this election because the sovereign will of the people has not been, well, like I said, what we see. Whilst this court says an election is a process, for me, and even as a lawyer, and for Wanjiku and for John Njoroge, an election is an event. You're going to the ballot, you're going to cast your vote, and you're hoping that your vote.
Jan Mohammed borrowed heavily on the minor Kiai's case that the IEBC chairman should verify, confirm, and declare elections results with the help from the rest of the commissioners.
It is, in our view, fallacious and flies in the face of clear principles and values of the Constitution to claim that the chairperson of the appellant can alone, at the tallying center or wherever, purport to confirm, vary, or verify the results.
Her pleadings called out IEBC for not following needed protocol in the postponement of the gubernatorial elections in Mombasa and Kakamega.
30 billion shillings later, we can't get an election right because there's a mix-up in the ballot. And therefore, my ladies and my lords, what is happening here is not a way to have an election at any level. We don't know what is going on as voters, people who are listening to this are getting even more confused as to what is happening out there. Was this accurate? Was this verifiable? It's our humble submission. The commissioners who came out, the disconnect between the commissioners shows that there is a problem. Mr. Chebukati says it is verifiable and accurate. The voter, what does Mr. John Njoroge know? The commissioners are saying it was opaque. Where does the voter go? Has everybody forgotten the voter in all of this? The political parties are saying...
In her last plea, Zerabanu asked the court to bar IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati from conducting any elections and from having any seat in the government.
Which your lordships and ladyships might tell me off about. We have requested that the chairperson be prohibited from conducting any further elections in view of his behavior and or holding any public office in Kenya in breach of Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya.
Mudeundalana, Lookup TV.
As submissions continue to be floated today, Paul Nyamodi, who is representing the Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga, has brought to bear the memos that were written by the IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati, stating the Commission's inappropriacy of the Elections Act in the Constitution in its first hearing.
I think we will arise and resume at 2 p.m. Thank you.
In a high-voltage submission before Lordships, lawyer Paul Nyamodi was the man on the floor representing the Azimio leader Raila Odinga, tackling issue number 6, 7, 8 and 9 from the total 9 framed for determination.
Issue number 6, the conjoined issue number 7, number 8 and number 9 of the issues that the court framed or the court has framed for determination. I wish to get straight into issue number 6.
In his submissions and pleadings, Nyamodi argued that he generated factual inquiries in the election processes according to Article 1383C and 13810 of the Constitution.
Is not whether tallying and verification should be done in accordance with Article 138.3C and 138.10, but indeed whether tallying was carried out by Article 138.3C and 138.10 by the IEBC.
From the then memo written by IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati, Nyamodi squares it and gives a punch of clarity to the statements written in the letters that, apart from the press statements by Chebukati on official murder cases, profile and contradicting reports, Nyamodi states,
and I will hope to persuade you that there is no such position as the returning officer of the presidential election. It is a creation of the chairperson of the IEBC, and it is created for the purposes of executing a very calculated scheme.
The memo states that Chebukati is the chairperson had the capacity to tally and verify the presidential election results, excluding the commissioners.
That in the spirit of teamwork, the chairperson involved the commissioners. That is all he did. In the spirit of teamwork, he felt that there was no duty to involve them. All he did was involve the commissioners. And again, later on during my submissions, I will get to that. But he went ahead and did it. And it is clear, and I submit it is admitted by the chairman of the IEBC that he exclusively, to the exclusion of the rest of the commissioners of the IEBC, tallied and verified the result for the presidential election.
In addition, Nyamodi states IEBC Commissioner Abdi Yakub Gulie and the Electoral Agency CEO Hussein Marjan verified the results and not the Electoral Commission.
This one is addressed to Commissioner Professor Abdi Gulie and Mr. Marjan Hussein Marjan. I wish to point out to this court and ask the court to note that Marjan Hussein Marjan is not a commissioner, but he is merely the CEO of the IEBC. Now, these two are appointed to the results management team at the Presidential Tally Center.
The meeting scheduled for Wednesday 31st by IEBC chair collided with the day of Supreme Court hearing.
The letter, or is the internal memo, exhibited as JC14. This is a response to the request for a meeting. This one is not under the hand of the chairman, but under the hand of the CEO, where he convenes that meeting for today, the 31st, the first day of hearing.
As the lawyer awaits his next submission, he requests the court to give hearing to all the 9 issues stated. Moses Okech, Lookup TV.
After the Supreme Court Chair, Chief Justice Martha Koome ordered IEBC officials to submit votes for recounting today, the ballot boxes were submitted at Forodha House in Nairobi County. Officials from the Supreme Court received 45 voting boxes ahead of the recount.
16.
A day after the Apex Court ordered for the recounting of votes from 12 polling stations, today the Forodha House was a beehive of activities.
So the first one is used presidential seals.
It was an exercise that was done under the supervision of IEBC officials, together with the Registrar of Supreme Court officials, who received at least 45 ballot boxes from the polling stations, where the court discarded. Polling stations including Nandi Hills, Senendet, Tinderet Primary School in Nandi County are one of the points that the submission of boxes was done. Other polling stations include Belgut, Kapsuserek and Chepkutum in Kericho County, Jovu Primary School and Miki Ndani in Mombasa County.
2, serial number 001976, batch 988.
The Azimio la Umoja flag bearer Raila Odinga and his deputy Martha Karua are opposing the victory of President-elect William Samoei Ruto in the Supreme Court. The court ordered a recount in 48 hours, and the report is expected to be submitted in the court for consideration as evidence. Kariuki Ndwati, Lookup TV.
You're watching the news on Lookup TV. We're going to a short break, and then I'll meet you on the other side. tell us a bit about what you do so that the viewers can know who's talking to this?
Okay.
Yeah. Just tell
Okay.
us a bit about it.
All right.
I think the big question is how do we deal with all this paranoia
Okay.
and anxiety?
Okay. I am a life and work coach. Basically, I help people.
Segment. We've had a lot in the news tonight, and of course that comes with a lot of questions and a lot of anxiety in the country. We want to understand how to mitigate this. My guest tonight is Frida Aungo, and Frida, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe tell us what it is you do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, I help people turn their passion into profit, and that involves people understanding who they are, what they want to achieve, and how they want to generate revenue from work. So basically, I'm a life and work coach. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what kind of situation do you see prevailing in the country now?
Chaos. Okay, I want to use the word chaos slightly. Mm-hmm. Chaos in that the people who had expectations and they're not sure if the expectations are going to be met. Of course, we know we've been going through the election period. Mm-hmm. There are those that were really out to support each of the contestants. So now they're wondering, is it going to be my guy or is it going to be the other guy? And that is giving them nightmares, sleepless nights. I have relatives who are not eating, who are fighting. And that's normal if you're passionate about something. So for me, that is...
Passion is good, but
passion is great.
Tell me about when your passion takes over your thinking. And how is that a good thing now? Passion becomes the enemy.
Passion is great, and passion does not function in a vacuum. It functions in a human being who has power to choose their reaction. But we have not been trained that way. You'll notice most of our schooling, anybody that even is going to school right now, you'll find them extremely stressed. They're extremely stressed because they have to cram stuff and just regurgitate it back to the teacher. We have not really been taught how to use our mind and how to respond to stimuli, how to respond to crisis, how to respond to stress. So we only know, we go to school, which is great, but there's a school we need to go to, and now it's becoming more popular for people to exercise their mind. How are you? We hear of emotional intelligence. Before it was just academia. You get an A, you're good to go. But now you can get an A and your mind is not working right. So the key thing, what's going on is, I want to say it's normal in that people are passionate about two different people. What is abnormal is that these people have not decided what is their true passion. And let me rephrase that. Passion has an anchor. The anchor of passion is your purpose, why you exist. Everybody exists for a purpose because we did not just pop in here. But besides why you exist, you also have some mini anchors. And what I call mini anchors are, what do you want to achieve in life? How much do you want to earn? Who do you want to spend your time with? So we need to think in those terms, think in terms of how will I generate revenue? Because revenue is important, and that's why we go to work. And even, you see, as we go to work, we're not just going to work. In Kenya, you'll see somebody goes to work, but they have 2 other things they do on the side. It's not necessarily bad. It's a way to show that work alone is not sufficient, or this person's needs are not sufficiently supplied by one stream of revenue. So it's all right to understand this is who I am, this is what I want, and these are the things that I'm going to do. And if you have that structure, then you know that this is the political party I want and why I want it.
We are far from distinctive political parties. Let's just break it down. We're very far from there. I am seeing a situation where there's a lot of passion being unleashed.
Yes.
With no basis for any bearing
The
or
basis.
any choice. This is like watching soccer. You know, when you watch soccer, you're allowed to suspend thinking.
Oh, are you? I didn't know that I don't watch soccer.
What is your favorite sport?
None.
Now we have a problem.
All right, there you go. I don't like that.
When you're not working.
When I'm not working. When I'm not working, what do? Sometimes I watch a movie, I go for a walk, I visit nice restaurants, I travel.
Yeah, but it doesn't require you to be in full thought at that point. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, we are in a place where there is no full thought. This is just emotional behavior.
You see, Louis.
What do you have to say about that?
What do I have to say about that is that we are adults. We have not been trained to manage our thoughts. All right? So, yes, there's a passion for sports. There's a passion for school, if there is, all right? But holistically, you need to have values, and your values are rooted out of your purpose, why you exist, and those help you to respond to stimuli a little more appropriately. I want to say appropriately because appropriate for me is going to differ from appropriate for you. For instance, you're freaking out that I don't do well in sports. I don't like sports.
I was looking for your other passion. Okay, if you don't do sports, what if everyone has to do sports?
I love speaking.
But I'm trying to say, there's a place and a time when you do things that don't require you to engage your mind fully. But now we are seeing an extreme context of that because of politics. And people are afraid.
That's their passion. Like some people, their passion is sports. And these people, their passion is not really politics. The passion is an identity, if you look at it critically, because there's 2 people that people are after. And the people who are after Raila, there are people who are, rooting for Ruto. Okay? So it's not so much the politics, because they're not. Because I don't hear them saying so much that it is Raila's manifesto or Ruto's manifesto.
Don't even bother with that. I can assure you, majority of voters don't do it on the basis of a manifesto. And that is why we are where we are.
Exactly. So you've answered yourself, that is where the problem lies. In an ideal situation, we need to be able to be objective about the people we follow, the people who are in our lives. The people who are in our lives, there's a reason why they're in our lives, why we are connected with them. So this passion for these 2 people
is misguided. Let's just be honest. It's misguided.
I'm not going to support that.
Because that's why I gave you the analogy of soccer. Not that I'm a great soccer fan.
Which sport do you play?
Not anymore. But I'm trying to say at some point, people just do not want to think properly. And this is one of those moments.
I don't know if they don't want to think properly, but they don't have a higher purpose, Louis.
They're not about to get it. We're in court. So now we are doing emergency. We are doing first aid. Where do we start?
Where do we start is every 5 years we are here.
Do you know how they normally say it?
What can we do? So
that they say,
here the next 5 years.
Yeah, they say, if your house is burning, you can run and save it.
Yes.
If your house is burnt to the ground,
then you need to find another option.
It's all over.
Find somewhere else to live.
Okay, this house is burning. What do we do?
It's burning. It's not. They still have hope, all right? Because we don't know if there'll be something, if something will be salvaged or not. However, the people who are waiting to see how far the house will burn have a good opportunity to look away and decide, okay, what can I control in this situation? And what can I not control? The things that you can control, you can work towards them. The things that you can't control, you need to find a way to have peace with them. That's why anger can be good or bad. Anger is telling you that there's something happening that needs to be corrected. So you can decide I'll correct it by punching somebody, or you can decide I'll correct it by stepping back and coming back when I'm calm and speaking to this person, depending on which level of anger you're at. But every reasonable human being has that capacity. But
that's the optimum. That's the optimum.
That capacity has not been trained. That's why I say that we have not been trained to use our minds appropriately.
Where do we start now?
That's where we do acknowledging. It's acknowledging that I have all these emotions and they put me into trouble. All right? If I throw stones, or I don't talk to people, or I go drinking, it always starts with acknowledging. Because the beauty with the human being is that we are resilient. We are more resilient than we actually care to admit. We are here to learn and grow. All right, but we have not been taught that. We have been taught to learn, get a degree, be an A student, or you're no good.
Now we've been taught to go and vote.
But going to vote is just one part of the things we do every 5 years. All right. So I wish, and we're at a TV station, that media houses would have these conversations before the elections to get people to start thinking, what if your candidate doesn't win? Which candidate are you rooting for? It's only one who's going to win. There's 5 people that you're running after. What if yours doesn't win? What are you going to do? The truth is, if it's 2, whether there are 2 or the 4 of them, the key thing is there's going to be one president and then there's going to be opposition. If your person falls on opposition, what are some things that you need to do as an opposition supporter? What are some things that... So I think there's opportunity for media to educate people instead of, for lack of a better word, perpetuating the crisis, right? So watch what is going on with the, be informed, but if you find that the information is riling you more than helping you to make an objective decision, you can find something else to do. So it's not like you're stuck there. So we have suspended judgment.
So we are stuck there. That's the situation.
Not all of us.
The ones who are not stuck, they are not talking. They're also on hold. Everybody is holding their breath.
On hold
Those who are
is
not
good.
holding their breath are accelerating the situation.
On hold is good. On hold is good because you're trying to see what is going to happen. But in that on hold situation, you can be getting education that if your guy is going to be the opposition leader, these are some things that you can do to support him. If your guy is going to be the one in the office, these are some things that you can do to support him. But right now, the on hold is that my guy is winning, even if it's looking hopeless. And then if he doesn't win, this anger is still just going to go to another level. So that's why this is a good time to have these conversations that it's not the end of the world if your guy doesn't win. Only one person is going to win, despite all the evidence and all that they're going to show us. But me as an individual, what am I going to do, all right, if my guy doesn't win?
There was a lady, Jan Mohammed, who spoke today for the Wanjikus. Supposing I took you to the Supreme Court and you had a chance to talk to Kenyans in light of what is happening, what would you tell them?
If I went to the Supreme Court?
And you had a chance to address Kenyans.
I'm not going to the Supreme Court.
No, this is I'm putting it out there just for you. Now you have a platform. So this is like court for you.
Okay.
Advice to the Kenyans. What did you tell them in this situation?
First, if I was going to go to court, I'd find legal counsel to understand what is at stake, so that I'll be speaking to them from an informed position, just like I'm speaking from an informed position of how human beings behave now. And just having a small opportunity to go to Supreme Court and speak to Kenyans, Kenyans should understand that not everybody who speaks to you is giving you enough information to make the right decision. That's another place, because right now, everybody around the country is giving people different kinds of information. But if you don't have an anchor, you're going to be swayed. Already you're swayed because you're not thinking objectively, should I go with Raila or should I go with Ruto? And then now you're listening to all the propaganda, paranoia is rising high. So it's a good opportunity to step back and start rethinking how we make decisions around this politics. It's not going to happen overnight, especially considering where we are. But in those spaces that we're able to have these kinds of conversations, it looks like a tall order, but it is the order and the pathway to sanity.
What do we suggest would be a way to, like you say, have this conversation prior to the event?
Prior to the event, Louis, we know every 5 years there's going to be elections. Since last year, things were slowing down in the economy with this wait and see. This year, especially starting January, if you're in business or you're running a small business, even if you work with corporates, there's been this wait and see kind of attitude. So instead of, because we know there's going to be the wait and see, we be proactive, all right? Steve Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, tells us to be proactive, tells us to start with the end in mind. The end in mind that we have seen every election since this democracy's thing started is that there's a wait and see, and then the people go to court. So how can we prepare so that our outcomes are different? We can start these conversations as early as the year prior. Just like you have different shows, we can have civic education on TV, we can have civic education on radio, even as little as people understanding what do I do when I get to the ballot box. When we get to the ballot box, there's so many people. Like 6 papers, I felt like I was going for an exam. All right?
I hope you chose well. I don't want to know who it was, but that's just the thing. And these are split families, these are split friends, these are split relatives. Do we need to get to that level?
We don't. But again, I'm not kidding you. It sounds simple, but the bottom line is our value system is broken. An individual's value system is broken. That's why they're responding the way they are. They're doing the best they know. Those are their values. And that's why I'm saying there's an opportunity to educate people differently, especially around these kinds of when we have these kinds of situations, as opposed to exacerbating it, just going on how, okay, who is going to win, showing the things that are making people's blood pressure rise, because what you focus on expands. All right? And then now that is where, as an individual, we need to be objective. Personally, when it gets too hot, I don't watch. And then in our family group, there's people who want this side, and there are people who are seeing prophecies that is this side. I just sneak out of it. Because I've made my decision that whoever wins, all right, this is the kind of Kenyan I want to be. You get? So that is my stand. So imagine if there were enough people who are educated to think that way, then we won't have the chaos that sometimes erupts. I hope none will erupt this time. It's not there because what people are seeing is encouraging them to behave the way they're behaving. That is just where we are. But I think there's lots of opportunity to do differently. Educate people about the elections, educate people what are some other things they can do while waiting for elections to pass. Why should we put on hold our lives? Their lives are going on.
Right. So, and what you're saying, now that we realize the space we're in, this is something, as you say, should have started way before the event.
Just
now
like,
that we are in it, what can we even suggest to salvage? Because the country is not lost. There's a hope. So what can we say?
There's a hope. There's a hope for that person who is really struggling, for that person that is really struggling, will my person win or not? It's a standard human behavior to understand what can you control and what can you not control. If you don't have a way to support what is happening at Supreme Court, you need to find a distraction until that happens. I like how you asked me, what sport do I play? What can you do with your friends? What can you do with your family? What other things can you do? Because it's really as simple and basic as that. There are things we can control and there are things that we cannot control. The things that we cannot control, we need to learn to have peace with them. You can only have peace with them if you move your mind from them and think of something else, do something else, move from that situation. But if you keep looking at it, keep thinking about it, and it's eating you, then you're going to respond. And your response might not be suitable.
Thank you, Frida. Well, that was a message for you. If you're getting all stressed up about this, that was a message for you. The process has begun. We'll keep at it. We'll keep you informed. We'll keep you updated. Have a good night.